Hello, I'm John Kirwan, and with my brother Tom, we represent the third generation of Kirwans Funeral Directors on the north side of Dublin, heading incidentally towards our centenary year. Over the years, Kirwans have been involved in very many funerals, it goes without saying. Douglas Hyde, Ireland's first president, we were privileged to be engaged to look after his funeral. In recent years, we decided to build purpose-designed funeral homes, and we're the first funeral directing company in Dublin to do that. And they, of course, were a great success. An old Irish tradition has come back into vogue, and that is bringing your loved one home. Now that requires an extra effort on behalf of everybody involved, and attention to detail in this process is critical, and that's where we excel. And I think it's rewarding for families who don't want to leave their loved ones in a mortuary chapel or in a funeral home or a nursing home, but would like to bring them home. And that gives them gentle closure and satisfaction, and that's where we excel. Together with our wonderful staff and with the attention to detail that we adhere to, we believe that we are leaders in the field of funeral directing.
We were arranging a funeral for a man who was a big rally car enthusiast. When we discovered this, we suggested to his family that maybe we could involve his old rally car in the funeral itself. So we arranged for the rally car to be driven by one of his friends, and it led the hearse on the day of his funeral. So the family were delighted with this suggestion and felt that the funeral had reflected their dad's life, and the fact that we'd been able to feature his rally car in the funeral was very special to them, and they felt their dad would have really liked it.
The hearse driver will normally ask the family if they would like to pass the deceased home. The drivers will familiarise themselves with the area beforehand and plan their route accordingly. Well, we find that small things make a big difference to families on a day, such as having spring water on board in the vehicles for them, or maybe tissues, or umbrellas for inclement weather.
All the T's are crossed, all the I's are dotted to make sure that I know exactly who I'm talking to, maybe a bit of background about the particular family or the circumstances. All those things are really, really important when I go to speak to the family. The guys are just all such gentlemen. I always found that they've beautiful speaking voices on the phone, and they're just very reassuring and soothing. And I think all those little things are really, really, really important.
They normally provide me with the information about the deceased and about their relatives and friends. And with this information, a priest is able to do so much more when it comes to church services and even smaller services in the funeral homes.
I see them as very, very good on detail, and I think that that's what it's all about. The day before one of the funerals, they came and did a sort of a dry run. We made sure that the hearse fitted where it needed to fit. We made sure that everything would work, and I just always feel comfortable working with them because I know that it's just going to be perfect.
So a family came into our care, and their father, indeed husband, had passed on, but all his life was a jazz musician. So we just suggested that maybe some jazz musicians would play at the graveside, and as it turned out, an entire jazz band played at the graveside, and as a coffin was being lowered, the last thing that he would have heard was his beloved jazz music being played. The family wrote in to us some time after the funeral and thanking us, and they were just delighted that their loved one, his life was celebrated the way that he would have liked it to be celebrated.
People will quite often ring you to thank you, and it'll be something quite small. On one occasion, following a burial, the coffin spray was being placed on the grave, and the hearse driver asked one of the daughters of the deceased gentleman if she would like to take a flower from the coffin spray to keep as a memento. And a few days later she contacted us to say how much it actually had meant to her to do this, and how kind and considerate and thoughtful the driver had been to think of her at that moment. But that's what we do.